Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest development. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I am so grateful to have you here. And if you're here every week, I am so grateful for your continued listenership and to be on this journey with you. Now, can we just take a pause for a second and take a deep breath in? One more breath. And one last one. Let's just take this hour right now of listening to this podcast. Let's just take it for ourselves. Because right now is a heavy time, a chaotic time, a time of great need, of great transition. And it can also feel very, very overwhelming on the nervous system to take it all in. Every single day we are exposed to new atrocities happening around the world. And yes, they are real. And if we just lose ourselves in one horrible event after the next, we're never going to really be able to be in our dharmas, in our purposes, in our sacred missions on this planet. And I feel you how overwhelming it can be with so many things happening and laws changing and events all around the world. It feels nonstop. And this is why we have our practices. This is why we have our tools. This is why we take a moment to gather and collect our thoughts and embody, because without it, we will lose ourselves and we won't be able to be of service and to be the solution that we are here to be. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling it all and you're trying to stay up to date on everything happening and then also figure out what's your stance on it, just breathe. We don't know anything fully about any situation, and it's not up to any single one of us to be the overall solver of it. All we can do is to try our best, to continue to stay aware even when things are hard, and to also honor ourselves enough when we are feeling frazzled and overwhelmed and unable to move or take action, to take a moment to pause, to practice self-care. Because that is the only way that we can be in alignment with our purposes. So I created this amazing free 5-day Rose Gold Goddess Challenge, which is happening right now. And just seeing the women today we had day 1 all about embodiment and seeing all the queens share their embodiment practice. I share a new practice every single day in this challenge. So today's was an embodiment practice, this guided kind of free-flowing dance practice. Tomorrow's is all about womb wisdom. So I'll be sharing my free womb wisdom meditation. And if you want to join this challenge, it's happening right now. It's absolutely free. You can head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com. Have that link in the show notes, rosegoldgoddesses.com. So then on Wednesday, we're going to be diving into our expression. I have this beautiful channeling session where you'll be able to practice some breath work and then channel your highest self into its fullest expression. Then on Thursday, we're going to be moving into intuition. I have a beautiful meditation and a practice to share with you to open up the channel of your intuition. And then on Friday, joy, because joy is your birthright. Joy is your true nature. Truly, all of us are here as joy. It's just that we are holding on to all of these layers, all of these responsibilities, all of these limiting beliefs, all of these false narratives that are withholding us from really blossoming into the fullest expression of joy and that sunlight that we are here to shine as. So if you're listening to this right now, this week, August 16th to 20th, head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com. If you're listening to this the week after, doors are now open for Rose Gold Goddesses, my divine feminine mystery school that takes these 5 pillars of embodiment, womb wisdom, expression, intuition, and joy, and puts them into action with monthly goddess circles, including incredible experiential workshops from myself and many of your favorite Highest Self podcast guests, different courses, Dharma support circles, literally everything you need, like Highest Self Podcast put into real life, is Rose Gold Goddesses. So if you are wanting to connect with other like-minded, like-hearted people on the spiritual journey who love astrology and love to twerk, who love to keep it real and love to get mystical, if you are wanting to actually take the concepts, like last week we had Reverend Brianna just speaking such truth. She'll be guiding an experiential workshop in Rose Gold Goddesses. Many of your favorite guests here, you'll be able to see them all on the rosegoldgoddesses.com page when we open doors up for a week. Will be available for you, teaching personal Zoom calls to just the Rose Gold Goddesses on bringing that magic out into your life. So if this is something you are curious about, head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com, join the challenge, or if doors are open, come join us. We are super excited to invite you inside. This is the only time we're going to be opening doors this year. So if you're feeling the call, this is your chance. So on today's episode, I am so excited to be bringing on a true queen. Yes, her name is Queen Afua onto the podcast. You may recognize her from her best-selling book, Sacred Woman, which came out over 20 years ago, or more recently on the Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow Smith, all about womb wisdom. And she is known as really being one of the mothers of the womb wellness movement, teaching this now for over 40 years. So in this conversation, we dive deep into how the womb is connected to our wellness, how we can cleanse from past lovers or relationships, how we can open up communication with our yonis, suggestions for different imbalances we may have in our womb or yoni space, morning baths and how that is so helpful for your spiritual growth, and so much more. I love Queen Afua because she is such an elder that carries so much potent wisdom and truly a pioneer in this movement of helping women see that the base central of their wellness all begins in their womb. And this is something that is very overlooked in our society, where we're so masculine focused. We're so driven on go, 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 do, perform, 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 that we forget this innate wisdom that we carry inside of us to create life, and these different flows that we move through their menstrual cycle, and to connect back with her. And even if you don't have a physical womb, we are all connected to the cosmic womb. Men, transgender, non-binary, all people are connected to the womb. So it's something that we can all benefit from. Now, a lot of the practices that she shares are directly related to a yoni or a vagina, but you will still be able to really learn so much about womb wisdom through this episode. So without further ado, let's welcome Queen Afua to the Highest Self Podcast. Welcome, Queen Afua, to the Highest Self Podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Oh, it's a delight to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And the first question I'd love to ask you today is, what makes you your highest self?
What makes me my highest self? It's a lifestyle, a holistic lifestyle, such as breathing, meditating, living a vegan intake of whole foods, forgiving, using the elements to heal me, air, fire, water, and earth. And it's all of that holistically coming together on a daily basis that keeps me into a higher level of living.
I love that so much. And you really have been the mother of wellness, teaching this for the past over 40 years. And can you share with listeners, how is our womb connected to our wellness?
The womb is the centerpiece of our womb universe of the women. The womb records all of our experiences, I have found, and she speaks. She either speaks wellness, and so we don't have womb issues, we have womb peace, we have womb happiness, or she speaks womb pain. And we go into that pain and we dissect and we begin to realize that she has been picking up on everything. And so the womb, she gives you information, she gives you inspiration, she gives you healing, or she cries out if you're not in alignment. So she's really there to help us. And she nudges us and says, this is not the way for us to heal. This is the way for us to heal. And you can feel the shift. So she speaks everything about where we are and what we're doing and how we're doing.
I love that so much. And I have been diving into my own womb wellness journey over the past 2 years. And it really has been so powerful to see this as our house of intuition and the place that we can connect to receive further insight. So can you share a little bit with us how we can open up communication with our wombs, our vaginas, our yonis?
Well, I place them into the chakras. First of all, the chakras, their origin, we call chakras, the original term is Arit, wheels of power. And it's an ancient African spiritual concept. And inside of that, there are lotuses. And so we tap into our 7 lotuses. And also that is an ancient African symbol of transformation, the lotus of rebirth, of coming out of the mud into the lotus blossom. So one of the ways in which we can, of the 7, we can recognize that we're on common ground. And so check in with your mother. Ask her about her womb challenges, her womb overcoming, her womb stories, if she will be open enough to share. Because as for my generation, they don't share as much, and my mother's generation share even less about their womb experience. It's very hidden, very secret. So you ask your mother, ask your auntie, ask your grandmother, ask your big sister to talk with you, because that is you. You are the continuation of your womb life, your womb line, the DNA. And many times young women are having experiences that their mothers had. Poor communication with mates, womb pain, a hysterectomy. So they're on that same pathway. Now, as the women begin to ask and talk, then they realize, okay, I need to make some changes. And I'm going to change the flow of my womb because of my mother's issues, which I'm also usually your issues then is passed down. And so just to know that we're on common ground and just to have this discussion and begin to talk about it and to share. Another way is going to looking at your womb as 3 centers, the womb of your mind. For what you think, you birth, you create. So your thinking is creating your womb experience. Then go into your heart, what you feel, what you hold on, what you harbor, what you overcome, what you forgive. You birth, you create. Those feelings are connected to the womb. And what you think and what you feel oftentimes is what's translated to the womb. So if a woman is bleeding heavy and she's in womb pain and literally 5, 6, 7, 8 days of bleeding, and at the same time she's in pain, most women are in womb pain every month. I myself was one of those women. As a young woman, I was in excruciating pain. And so when the women realize, oh gosh, I'm in pain, but how do I overcome? How do you overcome? You have to take on a holistic, natural lifestyle. So those who over 7 weeks or over 12 weeks start to live a holistic lifestyle and start to come away from move into plant-based and move out of flesh and junk and processed and fast foods, they automatically start to have a healthier womb. But then there's another way inside of that's the second RE that we work on. We work on our food as medicine there. But we also work on our heart and we work on the forgiveness. Go back into your relationships. And I would say women, all of our relationships are really an extension of ourselves. What we feel before we even go into the relationship, what we're thinking, what was passed down in our DNA, we connect to that frequency of ourselves. And then we keep on repeating and looping ourselves into these traumas, these relationship traumas that keeps us depressed and keeps us bleeding heavy and keeps us in womb pain. So look back at your relationships, take them to the water, take them to the bath, and get into your water. Take your Dead Sea salt or your Epsom salt, put your rose oil, 5 drops of rose oil into your water, light a white candle for clear vision, for example. Play some meditation music or just be in silence. And 10 minutes into your bath, ask the question, pick up who are you angry at? Who are you upset about? Who you felt wounded from on intimate relationship level? And you pull them up in your mind's eye. And then you ask the question. The question is, where was I? What did I do to bring this relationship in? And what did the relationship come to teach me? So when you realize the relationship came to teach you something, it shifts everything. And you say, what did it teach me? Well, maybe that relationship wasn't loving, attentive, and maybe you weren't as loving and attentive to yourself. So it sends you back to yourself to empower yourself to say, how can I be more loving to me? How can I put myself as number one? How can I encourage myself? So all relationships are mirrors, and it brings us back. And that's the heart of it. And then, there's 7 of them. I can stop here. And those are some of the things you could begin to do to have a healthy womb life.
I love all of those tips. And it really does show how it's so much more than our thoughts, so much more than our food, and even our emotion. It's all of it put together. And it really is the system that all of it interplays. And I know so many women have been having really heavy periods, especially the past couple of months. People think it may be related to the COVID vaccine. Have you been seeing this in your own work?
Well, it's interesting. Those who come to me are usually sacred women, or want to take the sacred women pathway, or want to take the emerald green or the detox. So they're already in the alignment, or they've read some of the books. So they started making some alterations and changes. So in the circle of those who come to me, they are not suffering from the coronavirus. I think 2 out of thousands, and one she took the training, and due to her daughter. Her daughter said, my mother is limp. She has a fever. She can't hardly breathe, all of the symptoms. And so her daughter sent my detox kit to her. So when I spoke to the mother, I said, well, she couldn't even talk. So I said to the daughter, who else is in the household? So she said, my father, my brother. So I gave them instructions. I said, are there lemons or limes in the house or cider vinegar? Said, yes, make her some lime water. Okay, do you have any vegetables in the house? Do you have any ginger? Okay, make the ginger, take size of your hand, add that to some greens and make a juice out of that. Okay, son, you go run the bath. By the time we worked on her elements, air, fire, water, earth, within 24 hours, she was out of the bed. And in 3 days, she was up and running. So that she had the virus. And so there's a few that come to me who have it and break that cycle. But most who already are in this flow, they have not been getting any of those issues because their immune systems are so strong already. And when it hit in March last year, I did a 21-day vigil. And every day it was a volunteer. I just got on the call and I invited other healers from different walks, different methods and systems to join me and share their method of healing and charging the community, the global community. And so people were really having great results. I wasn't hearing of major fallouts at all in those who've been coming in the circle of wellness.
I love that so much. And it just speaks so much into how our lifestyle, and I love how simple it is. It's just lemons and limes. It's ginger, taking a bath, incorporating these different elements, having the fire, the earth, the water. And these things have always healed us. And we think that we need something outside of us, something pharmaceutical, something else. And it's just this media that makes us so afraid of our own bodies and makes us doubt our body's healing powers.
It's so real. Well, the way that you work and the way that I work, what I realize is that I've never seen so many women want to become healers in these last 2 years. It's an awakening. And I know it's coming from a particular prayer. I unearthed this prayer many moons ago, and it just aligns us. I'd like to share this very briefly with you. I said, we are the women who lighten the darkness. We have come to lighten the darkness. It is lightened. We have overcome the destroyers. We are there for those who weep, who hide their faces, who sunk down. They looked upon us then. We are the women. We are the healers. We are the women. We are the healers. So the women there's been an uprise of women waking up and saying, I want to be a healer. Or they women are studying herbology, they're studying hydrotherapy, they're studying yoga and meditation, they're becoming vegan chefs. All this has suddenly happened. Years back, it wasn't like that. It was more women were coming just to take care of themselves. But now it's the women are saying, I want to learn this so I can help my family and my friends and my community. So I'm seeing a real major shift in the last few years of women waking up to the healer within.
Absolutely. It really is such a reawakening of that, coming back to the ways that, before patriarchy, that all women were healers, and we're just remembering those codes within us. And I think it starts with these really simple things that so many of us experience. And one of those things that so many listeners shared are UTIs. UTIs is something so many people suffer from. What do you suggest for healing this?
Well, tell me the symptoms. The symptoms tell the story.
So with UTIs, I believe it's like painful for them to urinate. It's an infection of the urethra.
Well, that infection comes from a diet filled with toxicity. So they have to do a self-reflection and examine what are you taking in that is causing the toxicity to accumulate. I have found that all disease is really two things: malnourishment, the body is starving for real food; empty calories, junk food, fast food, processed food, fried foods, microwave food, GMO foods, all of those cause toxicity in the womb and bacteria buildup. So it's either malnourishment or toxicity. So if you can take the toxic substances out of the lifestyle, even just try it out for 7 days, your womb would begin to make a shift. And then put in the diet foods that help to repair and to build. So primarily simple, the green foods will help to repair and build. And the fresh fruits will help to detoxify. So if you can increase that into your lifestyle, whatever the issues that you're having in your womb, it will begin to shift. And then just take a look at how many days you have your menses. Many women are hemorrhaging. They're bleeding heavy, they're bleeding too heavy, and they're also in pain unnecessarily so. So once they start to change and really create a greater balance with more alkaline foods, more live foods cooked by the sun, not eating late at night, liquefying with live juices, taking your herb teas from your goldenrod, for those who are bleeding heavy, your shepherd's purse. These are simple things you can begin to do to really clean out the womb from all the various womb issues, from endometriosis to a fibroid tumor.
I love that. And what is your take on caffeine?
Well, my take on caffeine, that it shocks the adrenal system. So it's going to shock the nervous system. And so, it's like the goal is to take the trauma out, and that's causing emotional trauma to the body. So that's just my simple take on it.
Yes, I know so many people, they definitely rely on it, and it can contribute to those things. And
they're stressed out. That's what it really is. So they have to look at, why am I stressed out? What do I need to change? There's habits that we have that keep us stressed. So maybe communicating with people who are not on the same page with you, or being in unhealthy relationships, you need to look at that and start to come out of that. But some of us have jobs that are causing us a lot of tension and stress. Caffeine comes along with your 9-to-5 job, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you should be looking at something that you really care about, you really love, and you really want to do, and begin to develop yourself in a way that you really want to live. And then the stress levels automatically start to begin to decrease.
Absolutely. Yes. It's going back to the lifestyle of why we need to keep drinking more and more caffeine. And I think a lot of us too are afraid of fruits. A lot of people have read that it has such high sugar in it. It can lead to candida. So what is your take on this kind of modern trend right now to steer clear of fruits?
Well, I say stay clear of sugar. The sugar, the table, it eats away at the nervous system. The fruit itself and its natural sugar, if it's organic and it has seeds in it, and you take it in moderation, then it's fine. But what most of the time, people are really just taking the sugar, the table sugar. And it depletes the nervous system, the brain, the skin, the teeth. So it deteriorates and breaks down. So they need to look at, what am I actually taking in? Am I taking 2 apples for the day, a bowl of cherries? That's not going to cause an adverse effect. That's moderation. But if you're having sweets all throughout the day and then you're having fruits, that's what's going to cause the issue.
Yes, definitely. And, we all have for thousands of years survived off of fruits, and there's a reason why it's so easy for us to pick, and it's within arm's length distance, and it's sweet. I believe that God, universe, source designed us to want to eat these fruits.
And they what also, I look at food as medicine. So everything you take in, it has an impact on your life. You can actually just write down all your issues and then start to take in for example, say you're stressed out. You may make a juice of green juice with 2 stalks of celery. Say at the same time you have aches and pains in your joints. You may take a half of a turnip. Say that you are debilitated, you wake up tired, you go to sleep tired, then you may add kale or chard to your green. So that may be one thing. Say you have a vaginal discharge, then that's some vegetables that would help, juicing or wholes and salads when it's looking for the more sun cooked as opposed to cooking all the life out of it. And then say you have a vaginal discharge. So you may take 4 ounces of unsweetened cranberry juice 3 times a week for that. Say you're constipated. And so constipation is very dangerous to the uterus. If you have, for example, to balance that, you could juice yourself 2 or 3 apples and 1 or 2 pears to that and add 2 glasses of water. So it's not a high sweet drink. And then take that in, and that will regulate your colon as you then start to eat okra and put that into your soups and into your salads, or flaxseed. So whatever your issues are, there is an antidote in nature. And once you start to use nature to rectify the issue, along with exercise and proper breathing and meditation, a whole lifestyle, then you begin to really have a womb wellness lifestyle. And all the different issues will begin to leave.
I love that. And your book, Sacred Women, has so many of these different remedies for basically every problem. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to ask you about, what does it mean if you're getting really late periods or not getting your period? And how can we bring that into balance?
Well, it depends where you are. A late period means that your body is your emotions are up and down. So do an inventory. And so you have to look at your life closely. And you say, okay, what am I doing in the morning? What am I doing and who am I coming into contact with in the afternoon and in the evening? So you get the chance to say, okay, this is 7 days of self-evaluation, inventory of the kinds of relationships that you bring into your life, because it's keeping you emotionally up and down. And then bring into it, well, what am I eating also? And then what am I thinking? And what am I feeling? So having some self-reflective time is very important. And really the best way to analyze yourself, the best time of the day is between the hours of 4 and 6 or 7 in the morning, when your melanin is strong, you're more centered, and everything around you is very quiet. You could light a candle, do a prayer, and just have a conversation with yourself. What am I feeling? How am I feeling? What are people saying to me? What am I saying on social media? Is social media stressing me? Do I need to detox from that for a minute? And what am I reading? What am I looking at? See, all of these things are food. And some foods are sick, making you sick. What you're looking at, what you're hearing, what you're saying, how you're responding, all of this, you might have to go through a total transformation in order to actually shift that reality. I'm having a baby, and the name of the baby is Womb Love Care. And it's a 7-step rejuvenation womb program. So I recommend that one finds, it may not be me, it may be you, it may be other healers, find a system that you can stay with. And every day you follow that system, because what we do is we do hit and miss. Read a book here, take a workshop there, take these vitamins. I could imagine so many people get vitamins and herbs and they put them in their cabinet until the next new thing comes up. And they get that one, and they try that for a week or two, and the next new thing. And so we're really just scattered. We're all over the place. So we don't really get the results that we're seeking. So if we were to really just focus in, whatever program, whatever circle you decide to be with, give yourself a season, become well seasoned in it, and learn what you need to learn and clear up what you need to clear up. That's why retreats are so helpful. But a retreat is usually only 3 or 4 days. You need to retreat for 12 weeks. And even during this time, like people have been locked in, you're feeling locked down. I call this whole experience a very profound retreat. I changed the tone of it. And so people will be set up their wellness homes, and their kitchens become healing laboratories, and their bathroom becomes hydrotherapy rooms. And their living room becomes a living room. They pull out their yoga mat. They pull up their music. They pull out their juice in the nutrition kitchen. They get their bath salts, and get their enema bag and their footstool for the elimination of the hydro room. And they put their pillows for the inversion in their healing bedroom. So every room in your house right now, if you were to take all the rooms in your house and make your home a wellness home, there's a Dr. Benjamin, I believe her name, said one thing. She said, I love her so much. She said, healing is not only done in hospitals and clinics, healing is done in homes also. So if we would go into our homes and transform our homes into healing homes, we would begin to see a major shift. And the issues that we're suffering from, whether it be a fibroid tumor because of the habits that we've been carrying and passed down through the bloodline, or we've been having unhealthy relationships, whatever that is, when you start to zero in, focus in, you can break the cycle of disease in yourself and in your bloodline.
We'll take a quick break so I can give a shout out to our sponsors. So my words for 2021 are rest, relaxation, and receiving. And I am supporting this with Organifi Gold Chocolate, which is the best thing I've ever put into my mouth. And it really is so helpful because for me at night, I really crave chocolate. And instead of eating a bunch of chocolate and feeling like crap in the morning, this actually supports me with my sleep. It has ingredients including turmeric, ginger, reishi mushroom, turkey tail mushroom, and lemon balm with less than 1 gram of sugar per serving. It's 100% USDA organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, non-GMO, all the good stuff. And it literally tastes like heaven. I swear, try some with some hot almond milk and you are in for a treat. If you're ready to get your hands on some of your own, head over to Organifi.com and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. That's Organifi.com, Organifi.com with coupon code Sahara for 20% off. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. It is so important to have someone that you can openly talk to about your issues and what's going on. Sometimes we use our friends as therapists, but that's really not what they're for. Our therapist is our therapist. And I know in my life, it has been beyond helpful to have someone hold space for me so I can openly speak about what's going on in my mind and have someone to reflect back my thoughts at me so I can find more clarity and overcome any anxiety that I have been feeling. So I am so excited to be partnering with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You can even message your therapist throughout the week for additional support. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So please don't wait weeks to find someone to talk to. There has never been a more important time to invest in your mental health because you, my friend, are your greatest asset. Again, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Highest Self podcast listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Sahara. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sahara for 10% off. I love that so much. And yeah, I definitely have noticed within myself because of this quarantine, bringing in so many things that I used to maybe go out for, like a healing treatment, et cetera, bringing them into my home and making my home that sanctuary. And I loved something you wrote in your book, to have flowers in your bathroom all the time, to just like make your bathroom a sanctuary for yourself. And a friend of mine who had done one of your programs, she has been doing the morning baths. So can you share with us a little bit why taking a bath in the morning is so helpful?
Well, taking a bath, well, it depends. If you're working at home, it's easier to take a bath in the morning because you'll be very centered. Water, you are made of 75% water. When you circle and surround yourself in water, it's the quickest way to balance out your emotions. If you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're stressed, whatever the emotions that are going around, but just going up and down and everywhere, the bath will pull you right in. And because it's circling you, it has that power. And so the bath balances you out emotionally and psychologically and spiritually. And then it allows you also to connect to relationships. You can do a self-exploration in those relationships, bring them up, look at them, let them go, learn from them, and your day is open. Otherwise, we take the people with us that we're hurting. We're mad at them. We're thinking bad thoughts. We want to get back at them. You get yourself in that bath, and all of a sudden, you start to see, wait a minute, there's something I need to do and shift in myself. That's how come I keep having these relationships. So the water helps to balance out your relationship with yourself so that you can balance out your relationship with others and that you will attract healthier relationships. So it's a beautiful way to begin your day. That's your spiritual bath. And then you can charge your bath so you can feel that spiritual shift. You can charge, it's all about love and giving yourself a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of upliftment. And the more you can give yourself that, you will begin to attract loving, supportive, kind relationships. So you can put 5 drops of rose oil into your water to represent opening up of the heart, or a few drops of lotus oil to open up your heart and your consciousness, your mind. You can put in there some Himalayan salts or Epsom salt or Dead Sea salt, a pound or so, as long as you don't have high blood pressure. Otherwise, use a cup or 2 of organic apple cider vinegar or dandelion tea, make that into a bath. And if you want to really have a love bath, then you can get yourself a bunch of roses. Pink roses would be lovely, or white, and put them in your bath. And you'll have a flower bath. There's nothing like a flower bath. Turn off your light in the bathroom, your hydrotherapy room, and light a candle to represent what you're working on. You might be working on communicating to people your true heart. So you might light a blue candle for that. You might need to light a green candle because you're about opening up healing your breast and your heart and having healthy relationships and prosperous relationships, not relationships that drain you. You might light a white candle for a clear channel because there's so much clutter in your life. So you just keep getting more confused in your walk. So that will help to clear the pathway. You might light a violet candle so that you can see the truth. The truth will set us free. You don't make up things. You say, what is the truth here? So that I can grow and that I can overcome. And with the candle, color of it's connected to the Ari, the chakras. So you're working with the candle, that's the light, that's the fire. And you might put ginger in your bath, and that's more fire to burn up more congestion. And then you're having the flowers, and that opens up the spirit and the heart, and you have the salt that opens up the physical body and allows you to detox deeper. So using all the elements into this one bath, and your day is going to flow just like the water. It's going to flow.
So beautiful. I've taken flower baths before, and there really is nothing like it. And I think it's just an ultimate way to rewire our nervous systems and this like productivity culture that we're in. That's wake up and get on my computer and answer my emails and get on top of the day, instead to start your day from this place of not responding to the world outside of you, but really listening to what's happening within you. I think that's so powerful and will set the tone to how you respond and react to the world for the rest of your life.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And then you'll have more time to really have a loving, healthy relationship with yourself. And that becomes your new way. That's why there's so much stress and anxiety. And so we sit all day and look at the news and the bad news. Well, bad news is coming because people are sick and hurting. And that's more the norm than not. But if you represent the good news that I am a whole woman, I am on my path of healing, that also becomes the good news. I remember I spent some time in Africa for some months, and I would look at the news and it would be, oh, the crops are growing so beautifully over here. And this husband and wife team are doing work for the community. That was the news. But in New York, I'm hearing how many murders, suicides, fires, pain. So if that's what the news is, that's the people. The people are the news.
So true. Yes. I mean, and that's the thing too. We think that it's being informative or being a good citizen to be watching the news, but really, how are we helping the world if we're just being bombarded by everything going wrong, but we're out of our own power to create what could go right?
Yes. That's the beauty of healing, because you have good news inside of you that wants to come out. And it's really important. One of the blossoms is birthing your purpose. And if you don't live your purpose, you're always going to be stressed out, and you're going to attract stress, and you're going to see nothing but stress. You're going to see a continuation of how you feel inside, outside. But when you start to really say, okay, why did I come on this planet? What am I really supposed to be doing here? And begin, am I a teacher, an educator? Am I to be an author? Am I to help women? Am I to teach people how to prepare food holistically? Why did I come here? Am I to help people with technology? Find why you're here so you could be on purpose. And when you're on purpose, your heart is at peace. You attract healthy relationships. You can take your healing bath because you're not all stressed out and you're not in the loop of the bad news syndrome. And you realize that, wait a minute, I also can create the news. So there are stresses all the time and triggers all the time. And the more bad news you see, the more you create within yourself and the more fear that's magnified. So, pause, go inside and say, what is it that I came here to do? And I'm going to begin to do that. Taking those baths, getting up early at 4 o'clock in the morning, doing your journaling, all these are ways in which you can connect to yourself and rebirth you. By rebirthing yourself, you will see that your womb also will begin to shift. So if there's heavy bleeding, if there's a fibroid tumor, if there's endometriosis, any of those things and more, it's just because your mind and your heart and your emotions are locked into a toxic journey. And so you can shift that at will whenever you're ready.
I love that so much. And, we're all about living our purposes here on the podcast and in my book. So I would love if you had any rituals or suggestions you recommend for someone who's seeking to find their purpose right now.
Yes, actually, I have what's called, first you have to look at the birthing blues and see what you've done. And some have aborted their vision. They conceived it, they thought about it, they started to grow it, and then they became fearful of their own purpose. So they aborted, they stopped it. They put it on the shelf. Others gave their vision. It's called reflection. You have to see where you are. Some have actually given themselves a hysterectomy, which means of their vision. And they don't think they can even do it. They don't think they have the wherewithal. They don't think they have the support. They don't feel they have the money. So they just affirm, I can't do that. I can't really do what I really want to do. I have to do what I don't really want. I remember there was a physician, and she said, I really don't want to do this. I want to dance. She said, dance classes. And so she would call me from time to time to help her with some herbs and things. And she became a physician who dances. So she was able to live her full life and do performances and be a healer at the same time, physician. So it's important to just see where you are. And then sometimes we go through full term and we have our vision and we grow it and we have support. We have midwives and mid-husbands. Everybody helps us. And then you go out and you say, okay, world, my vision is here. And maybe a handful of people show up and you get depressed. And then you just say, well, it's just not going to happen for me. But you have to grow. It's like a baby. You have to nurse it. You have to hug it. You have to have a conversation. You have to grow. And as you're growing it and learning why the 5 people came and giving thanks. I remember when I was a teenager and I realized, oh my gosh, I got rid of my asthma, my allergies, my PMS, my headaches. And I did it after 321-day cycles. I was so excited. I made a flyer and I got on my bike. I was like 19, 18. And I started riding around the whole neighborhood, putting out food co-ops and health food stores. Come to my house. I want to share with you a vegetarian, at that time it was all vegetarian, wasn't vegan, a lifestyle and how it can help you to heal you and overcome the issues. One person, I laid out a banquet. One person came. I was so happy about my attitude about it. One person came and we talked for several hours. We were so enthused about this healing and we had someone to talk to. And that gave me a lot of insight, just having that first conversation outside of myself. I had been reading, I had been taking workshops, I've done my personal healing, but to have that camaraderie about wellness, it encouraged me. And that one became 10 and it became 1,000. I just kept growing it and learning from every single experience. So that I want you to look at it like that. You came here to do something really special, everyone. Not looking at somebody else as well. They're doing so great outside and they're a star and they're wonderful. But what about me? What about you? You can go inside through now that you've looked at how you've been kind of looking at your visions, you've given it up, you don't believe in yourself. Well, these are some recordings that have been given to you. My family, I have 9 aunts and 7 of them are school teachers. So really, I should be a school teacher. But I became one. I teach about wellness. I teach about natural healing. But I didn't teach in a way, I didn't teach in a public school. I tell all my aunts did. That wasn't my calling. So in your bath that we talked about, this wonderful bath, you can give yourself 3 baths straight, and you're going to get up at 4 or 5 or 6 in the morning. You're going to have a cup of herb tea, maybe dandelion for iron, maybe goldenrod to start to shrink that tumor, maybe shepherd's purse to cut back on the heavy bleeding. And you're going to do that for a few days, and you're going to come out with your journal. And after your bath and you've done a few moments of affirmations and meditation, then begin to let the spirit move you and say, what is my purpose? Why did I come here? And just let the spirit write through you. And that's how I wrote these books that I put out. I have to ask, because I don't think I'm a writer. I just know I channel and I hear what the people need. And then I receive it. And I say, oh, okay, and I hear everything. So that intuition, you wake it up and you will see the where, the when, the time, the place, the who, the what. You're going to get all this data. And you just keep coming every day. Like, I'm so excited about getting more information about birthing my vision. I don't know what it is, but I like to work with people. I'm not sure what it is. I like to work also with children. So that means you might want to work with parents who are holistic to raise children. So you'll find your way. Just know that you will find your way because it's already in you. Your purpose you were born with, and it was already there before you came out of your mother's womb.
So beautifully said. And, what I'm really hearing, and I'd love listeners to let that land is, first of all, it's not overnight, it's starting with that one person. And here you are 40 years later and continuing. And I'm sure you've explained these things thousands upon thousands of times, but your enthusiasm and passion is still there because it's your dharma, it's your purpose, it's why you're here. So when we find that thing that we align with, and it comes through trial and error, it comes from, like you said, you could have been a teacher, but you're kind of your own type of teacher. And, it's kind of remixing things that, okay, I've seen someone do this before, but my remixed version is the doctor that dances or the person who's teaching about this thing that most people aren't talking about. And the more that we make it authentic and unique to us, and even if it's never been seen before, or understood before, the more it is needed by the world because we're that one person who can fill that gap.
Oh, I love it. It's needed by the world. Actually, somebody needs exactly what you have. Mm-hmm. And, I hear my own enthusiasm. But my sister, Queen Afua, she just made me a fresh orange, lemon or lime grapefruit drink. And I put some green life in it. And I said, this juice, this is right before the interview. And I took the juice. I said, oh my gosh, I feel so excited. I feel my cells awake. My eyeball is vibrating on a high. The food that you eat will give you energy. It was live. It was organic. And it really talks to you, what you're eating. So for those who feel like, I don't know what it is, I'm afraid. Well, do a 7 or 21-day detox. And all of a sudden you become fearless in your vision. And no matter what people didn't believe, because most people are afraid to live who they are. So you have to watch who you talk to. Only talk to people who believe in you and your vision. Everyone else, let it happen, and then you will find out later on. Because if you don't get the right encouragement, words have power. Words can build you up, and words can bring you down. So if you feel those words not supporting you, it can stop you. It can paralyze you. So, watch who you share your purpose and your vision with, and make sure they become your champions and they celebrate your vision with you.
Absolutely. And this is why it's so important to find community. Sometimes people who don't even know us, total strangers, can be more supportive of our purposes than our own family and friends who may be committed to a former version of ourselves that's no longer in alignment. And sometimes to try to make the people around us happy, we hold on to this past version of ourselves, even if it's hurting ourselves and preventing our natural evolution.
Yes. And, that's so real. But I heard you say families. You know what? You have different families. You have holistic families, some you have spiritual families, some you have business families, and you share things with. And then you have blood families. So if you think you're going to get everything from your blood family, they have you, however the frequency of the family, you're in that family. You may be that unique one of the family that begins to break out of some of the family's habits that may not be productive even for the family. And so you have to be of courage. And then find an additional family that you're on the same path with. And that's the community. And sometimes you have to either go look for the community or you have to become the community. What I did is I became the community. I said, okay, I love this healing. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It's healing my life. I started telling people I didn't know. I said, do you know you can be well? I would call, and I remember calling up all my mother's friends, those who I thought might hear me. And I said, you know, that cane you have, you might be able to put that down. And then I called up my friends who thought I was totally nuts. And I said, you know, that asthma that you have, you probably can get rid of that if you have some citrus and some cider vinegar and more water. And so I started to create family and community out of my own enthusiasm. And then I have the whole world. It's like people say, where are you, Queen? I'm in the world. I'm in the whole world. And that's how I feel. I feel connected to everyone.
I love that so much. Create the community you wish you were a part of. Be that vibration. Start sharing it, because chances are you're going to inspire and even find other people who are like, oh my goddess, I have been wanting someone to talk about that with. And finally, you're giving people that permission. Yeah. I think so many listeners are really feeling that call right now to set up sister circles in their community, to start talking about these conversations. And before we go, I would love for you to speak a little bit about Yoni steam, as I know that's something you're very passionate about sharing.
Yes. Oh, well, I just had a wonderful time with Jada Pickett on Red Table.
Yes, so I watched it. It was so great.
And I saw the sister, I believe she's in Brooklyn. I'm not sure where she's from, but she does Yoni steaming. That is in total alignment with one of the techniques of cleansing and healing the womb. I've taken thousands of people to the Russian bathhouse over the years. I would take 50 people at a time, sometimes 100, and we would just sweat for 3 or 4 hours, the whole body. But when I learned about focused steaming on the uterus itself, it just makes so much sense, because it moistens the uterus so that the congestion in the uterus, just like having a sinus congestion, the congestion in the uterus, that may be a tumor. That's womb congestion. A vaginal discharge, a cyst, that is congestion in the uterus. So the heat, the moist heat, which is what the Yoni steam is all about, it softens the uterus, it softens the yoni, it softens that growth, and it begins to drain. So your uterus can now begin to drain and release that poison. And then there'll be certain herbs, compounds that you may use. I have a herbal compound that you may use, and it convert, while you're in the steaming, you have those herbs, and it helps to pull that congestion out. So the yoni is important. But what I have found with focus, you can focus in and do a breast compress of castor oil and black seed oil over the breast, heated. That's a focus. Or you can work on the entire body so that all your systems support the flush. So with the yoni steaming, you need to be liquefying through juicing. Maybe you'll have juicing, particularly when the sun goes down, and your body starts to really go into a place of settledness. So you liquefy in the evening time. And then in the morning time, you have the yoni steam. It's wonderful. So you do your juicing, you take your water, you take your herbs, and then you have the yoni steam. And you'll have twice the results. Like I just believe in moist. I believe in heat. I believe in water treatment. That's why the colonics are so helpful. So say you're going to do I just love to go through leaps of healing. So getting yourself ready for yoni steam, or getting yourself ready to come to my womb spa, then you actually are going to move into a lifestyle that supports the yoni steam. But if you do the yoni steam and you're eating dairy, which is going to congest your uterus again, or you're having white flour products that's going to congest your uterus again, then it won't help. It will just be temporary relief. So you have a plan. So if you get so many treatments of yoni steam, and that you're squatting, you're actually sitting, and the moisture is coming into the womb, and the heat is coming in with the herbs, and then you leave from there and have a large salad and some fresh juice, and maybe some steamed vegetables or whole grain, something light, or avocados as your protein, and then you come back for another treatment, then the healing is even stronger. So it's a whole lifestyle that has to surround the yoni steam.
Yeah, I love yoni steaming because it really does connect you. There's really no other practice that totally connects you just with that womb space of yours. You know, being in a full body sauna, you're feeling it everywhere, but with the yoni steam, you're really right in there. And I actually went to a yoni steam, it was at a Korean spa with my husband, and he did an anal steam. And I found out that the Chinese emperors for thousands of years would every single week get an anal steam because it would open themselves up from the root chakra and bring them more into their power.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, see, I was a colon therapist for 15 years. So, I was about cleaning out that colon. And so just steaming it, that's a whole nother way approach. So that's what the men go through. All right.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I just love that we're paying so much more attention to these areas of ourselves that we've dismissed. And another last question I'd love to ask you is, what are your takes on using tampons? I know a lot of women have been using tampons their entire lives because it's easy, but do you feel like it blocks the flow, as well as different bleaches used in common tampon products can be harmful for our health?
Well, yes, I would say not to block. It can cause congestion. So I would say to open up. They have pads now. They have organic pads that have no chemicals in them. And so I want you to seek those pads out, and particularly give them to the young girls, the daughters, the ones who are going through their rights, age 13 to 16. Start them off correctly, because it can cause issues in the future. So you want to have a pad that allows the flow to just drop into the pad as to suppress it and push it back up. So you want to, because I would say that causes womb shock to actually insert a pad into a tampon into the body. And then they found that it has ammonia in it. So the chemicals in there will bleach out the uterus and cause a chemical shock.
Yeah, I really love using these period underwears that are these new kind of underwears that like basically have pads built inside them. So you don't feel the same kind of like the thickness of wearing a pad, but it allows you to free bleed into the underwear. So I really recommend that for people.
I love that. Oh, I love that so much.
Yes. And what is your take on birth control pill? I know a lot of people were put on it from a young age, myself including, and they're feeling the call to get off of it. So if you have any advice there on ways that we can detoxify from birth control pills.
Well, there is a system. I'm trying to remember the system. Oh, it's a system. I'm going to have to give it to you later, but I wrote about it in my book because I studied with a woman about 35 years ago, and she taught using the texture of the vagina. If it's dry, if it's moist, then you could tell if you're fertile or you're not fertile. And you have about 6 or 7 days of the month that you are fertile and that you can contract.
Oh, yes. Fertility awareness method.
Thank you, fertility awareness.
Yes.
I met the woman who started that many years ago. I don't hear anything about her specific, but I do love that concept. I use that. I did that with numerology. Lloyd Strayhorn gave me my numbers of the month, which I was fertile. And then I was intimate during those days that I was not fertile. And then when I was fertile, I was ready to have children. I was able to space them. So it's important to know your days, and that's one of the ways. And you can tell by your temperature, you have to give yourself a season of checking your temperature and for fertility awareness and checking the moisture in the vaginal area.
Yes. And now it's really cool. There's all these different bracelets people can wear that are automatically tracking their temperature all the time, or just these really easy thermometers that allow you to track it because I did it, like I was like writing it down every single day, and then you miss one day and it's a little bit hard, but it is super effective. I think it's like 99% effective in preventing unwanted birth, which is actually higher than condoms. So I totally suggest for people. And do you recommend any specific herbs or foods or rituals for detoxifying if you've been on birth control for quite a while?
Well, I would say that juicing would be helpful. And you should have at least 8 to 6 ounces of green juice every day. That's just acting expectorant. And to ginger, taking the heat, that will help to flush out. So taking a bark about the size of your palm of ginger with your vegetable juice or your fruit juices daily. Taking your cranberries will help to flush out. Also clay, using the clay. You can use it as a poultice and putting it at the opening of the vagina to help to repair the uterus. And that will help to nourish the uterus. You're putting zinc, potassium, calcium, magnesium back into the uterus, nourishing it. That's another way. And do that maybe about 3 times a week, keeping it in for an hour and then flushing yourself out. Also inverting, getting the bloodstream to repair the uterus. Inverting, legs, 3 pillows at the foot of the bed, legs are on those pillows that allow the blood to flow down through the legs into the uterus. So all these are ways in which to repair and flush out and reset. just literally to reset the uterus.
Love those all so much, and super easy things people can find anywhere that they are to get them detoxifying. And it's beautiful how something like a green juice or cranberry can heal us in so many different ways. Like even ailments that we may not even be aware of, these foods can really work in supporting us. Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Queen Afua, for sharing your wisdom with us, for being such a pioneer in this movement and making womb wisdom so accessible for so many people. We so deeply appreciate you. And where can listeners further connect with you, get your book, and try one of your trainings?
Oh, well, I would thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy being with you today. I feel so rejuvenated.
Likewise.
Well, I do have the training coming up. It's at the end of August, but the book is going to be available also. It's called Womb Care Love. And this is a 7 steps to rejuvenate, restore, and renew your womb based on the 7 I reach. And so that is going to be a 7-week training. And you can register for that for the end of August. And you can also get pre-orders for the book and be the first ones. And we're going to have like a giant, massive private circle for those who get the book. Those are called the believers. Like in your own vision, if you get some believers who believe in your work ahead of time, who see it before it all shows up to the world, you want to support them and give them an extra thank you. So for the believers, please go ahead and get the book early on, and we're going to have a special circle for those who saw the vision before the world saw the vision.
Amazing.
www.queenafua.com or wombcarelove.com.
Perfect. And we will have that link in the show notes. Thank you so much again for sharing with us today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Stay blessed. Be well.
How beautiful was that conversation? I love Queen Afua because she's such an example to me of a woman sitting in her throne. The way that she dresses herself and just wraps herself with these beautiful purple silks and takes care of her body and is aging so gracefully without the resistance, but just because she's so in touch with who she is and taking care of herself and feeding herself so much. And this conversation also inspired me to eat more fruit because I feel like we are sort of like fruit phobic right now. Like that's sort of like the thing in nutrition. It's way more, having protein and fats and less carbs. And I feel like I used to eat a lot of fruit. Like at one point I was probably even like a fruitarian when I was a raw vegan, but then I kind of shifted away because of the candida stuff. But this conversation, since having it, I've been eating a lot more fruit and just like letting myself enjoy that more and not having as much like restrictions of like, well, it needs to be like at this time on an empty stomach. And like, the other night for dinner, I wasn't really hungry. I just had a bunch of papaya and it was so good. So if you do have a little bit of fruit fear happening, I know that's a thing. I invite you to just try some more fruit, see how it feels. And of course, baths. If you have access to a bath, such a beautiful way to take time for yourself. I have a friend who did Queen Afua's program and she has 2 kids and she started taking baths by herself every morning at 4 a.m. It was the one time she had for like the whole house to be quiet and for her to have this time for herself. And it has been so life-changing. She's came up with so many ideas that have impacted her life and her business just through having this quiet time for herself. So love Queen Afua so much. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you loved it, please leave a review on the iTunes store. It helps so much. And as a free gift for leaving a review, I will send you the first half of my unreleased book, and never to be released book, because it was the first book I wrote on Ayurveda, called Eat Right for Your Mind, Body Type. So all you got to do to receive this book is leave a review for the podcast, take a screenshot and email it over to me at Sahara at eatfeelfresh.com. Again, that's Sahara at feel, F-E-E-L, fresh, Fresh.com. And I will send you the first half of my unreleased book. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.